In the Ecdysozoa, we will be discussing the characteristics of the arthropods. How does the arthropod look like, or what are the characteristics which make an arthropod, and how they have evolved during the history of life. The arthropods are spectacularly diverse group of legged invertebrates. So these are invertebrates, that means they are lacking the vertebrate column. And they are legged, that means they can move with the help of legged. And that's what their name comes from. Arthropods, the jointed legs. They accounting for about 3/4 of all the living species on the planet today. So these are the most abundant organisms today, and most of that is due to the class Insecta, or the subphylum Insecta, which is much more diverse, and it is having the highest number of organisms on the planet of Earth. So what is the basic body plan of arthropods? The arthropods are segmented with jointed appendages. Segmented means their body can be described in different form of segments. And all of these appendages or the segments are adapted for feeding, locomotion, and respiration. And then there is the presence of exoskeleton as well. Exo means outside, and skeleton means something that gives the structure to something, some organism. For example, we have a skeleton which is made up of bones. It gives us a shape, and so is the case for the insects. Insects have the skeleton which is outside. There is inside of the bodies. All the things are very, very soft. They cannot have some supportive structure inside. And that appeared during the early Cambrian in the arthropods. Here you can see all the members of the phylum Arthropoda, which have the segmented bodies and appendages. So that means these are the inclusive characteristics which make an organism an arthropod. So if we start from the left upper side, there is the Trilobitomorpha. That means it is an organism which is just like the trilobites. We'll be discussing about that in later. Then there are the Chelicerata, which are the scorpions, the crustacean, which is a decapod. There is another crustacean, which is also a decapod. And the ostracods, barnacle, insects, and the coleopteran, which is an insect, which is beetle in our common language. So all of these organisms, if you look closely, you would be able to see that they have the segmented bodies, and you can see the different appendages coming out of their bodies. That makes them arthropods. Their body is differentiated into head, thorax, and abdomen. And often the head and thorax fuse, which is called cephalothorax. Cephalo comes from the head, and thorax means the second segment. And when they combine together, that is called cephalothorax. The hard mouth part or mandibles are also present. And what does these hard mandibles do? These mandibles are giving them the ability to process wide variety of the foods. And we will be discussing much more about it. So then there is the arthropod exoskeleton. It is composed of an organic substance which is called chitin, and it is hardened or sclerotized by the calcium carbonate or calcium phosphate. So sometimes, not all the time, this exoskeleton which is made up of chitin, it is further impregnated with these minerals, and it is potential for the excellent preservation. So it acts as a base for the attachment of locomotory muscles. All the insects that they move, they are attaching their muscles to the exoskeleton. As we are attaching our muscles to our bones, the insects do that by attaching their muscles to their exoskeleton. And this permits them the rapid movement, and normally, not all the time, it is mineralized. So there are some arthropods which are having the mineralized exoskeleton, but most of them, it is not mineralized. Because if it is mineralized, it will hamper the activity of an insect. It has to be a light-weighted exoskeleton so that insects or the arthropods can move more easily. So Then there is the phenomena of metamorphosis. Many arthropods have the metamorphosis. Metamorphosis means that from the early ages of the life, the arthropods go through many different stages in which they change their shape. So metamorphosis literally means changing shapes. And then there is another phenomena of molting or ecdysis that we have discussed earlier as well, in which an organism grows a newer exoskeleton beneath the older one, and the older one is shed and new organism comes out from an old skeleton. And Exuviae, or the cost of covering, is the name of that remains of the previous skeleton or cuticle of the animal. So during a geological history of about at least 540 million years, the 5 subphyla of arthropod have adapted to life in marine, freshwater, and terrestrial environment. So that means it is very much diverse phylum which have various life forms, and they have wide variety of organisms living all the environments. So the 5 subphyla are one of the first one is the Trilobitomorpha, and it has existed from Cambrian to Permian, and it is extinct. We cannot see any trilobites today, but we can have an excellent fossil record with which we can study the earlier life forms or the ancestors of modern the arthropods. And then there are the Chelicerata. These are the Cambrian to recent. That means they started their life or evolved during the Cambrian, and we can see them today as well. And then there are the Myriapoda, which have origins from the Ordovician, Silurian to the recent. And then there is the Hexapoda, which are starting from the Devonian to the recent. They have the fossil record, as well as they are existing today as well. And the last but not the least is the Crustacea. They were evolved during the Cambrian, and we can see them today as well.